which is your rationale for the study, or your justification for the study, or your significance of the study. And what does that entail? Your significance of the study is justifying why your work is important. Looking at how your work is important to stakeholders, to the organization, to the student or the academics, to the society at large, to the government. You justify how your work will benefit all these I have mentioned and many more. Then you can go down to talk about the scope and delimitation of your work. In the scope and delimitation of your work, this is where you limit and tell yourself, this is the area I want to cover. For example, in this same topic, looking at the impact of TQM on profitability or performance of an organization or of a paint industry, your scope can say, I'm only covering the Sudbury region of Ontario. Or you can say, I'm only covering Toronto city in Ontario. Why? We introduce or we use scope and delimitation to limit our work, because you cannot sample the entire population. Every research you do, you are simply taking a sample of your total population. For you can never conduct a research on the total population. So as researchers, as research students, as academics, what we do is take a sample size of the total population. For example, I can say Ontario is my total population. I'm looking at paint industries in Ontario. Then I can limit my scope of the companies I want to sample to paint industry in Sudbury or in Toronto. That is making my work less cumbersome and a little bit moderate for me to be able to manage. I think that explains that. So you do that, then you can now go, you tell them the geographical location that you are covering, you justify why you are using that geographical location, you tell them why the people that you are sampling, if it is in an organization, you justify. If it is the management alone you're talking about, you justify why. If it is the maintenance department your work is focusing on, you justify why. Those are the scope that you are setting that will make your work a little less cumbersome. Then you go on to the next one, definition of terms or operationalization of term. You telling the readers of your work what TQM means by defining it. Telling them what performance means by defining it. That is you defining an operational or your terms or operationalizing your term. You could also include this depending on the school or the need of your school. You could also have plan of the study included in your very, very first introduction by stating what your readers should expect in your entire work, telling them what to expect in your chapter 1, which is the introductory chapter I just explained, telling them what your chapter 2 will look like, telling them a brief of what your chapter 3, 4, 5 will look like. Chapter 2 is basically your literature review. Your chapter 3 is your research methodology. Your chapter 4 has to do with your data analysis, interpretation chapter, while your chapter 5 is your concluding chapter, which you have your summary of findings, your conclusion, and your recommendation. And you end that section by suggestion for further studies. For no one can ever do any research conclusively. So when you are doing your research at any level, you end it by suggesting that anyone that is interested in taking over from where you have done your own research can look at your suggestions for further studies and pick it up from there. That becomes a new research and totally. That being said, is all I want to say in this very, very first video. Till I come your way again in the next episode. Remember and know that Alman, I've got your back. and Research Made Easy is here to help you in all of your research issues, challenges, and problems. Feel free to call me, private chat me, text me for any of your research questions across all levels, from the lowest to the highest being PhD. Alban and his team are glad to help you solve your problems. Cheers and bye for now.